I think this
And
is
that was the
going to be
reason. That was the reason for me to reach out to him, and all his 3 years that he was with us, he's extensively helped us work with reptiles. That time he's a certified snake catcher. He's gone and he's done a lot of work with. He's, I think, got 4 species of scorpions, right, Arjun, if I'm mistaken?
Crabsman, yes.
That's identified by him. So he's identified new species in the Western Ghats. Those were the days where that break would happen and he would disappear. He would be incognito for months and come back again and then say that this is the species I have identified. And so now they're all registered species. So he's complemented by government on those grounds as well for identification of these species. So a lot that he has done. How old are you, Arjun?
I'm 25.
Oh my God. So
absolutely.
that's where the world is right now. It's gone very young and we've gone very old. Naveen sir is still young, don't worry. So it's from my side. So this is Arjun Naveen, and Arjun
This is
Naveen
commendable
is
work.
also,
And I'm sure that it's an inspiration to all BCom students, as you rightly said, that it's not just commerce. Whatever they want to pursue, there's a possibility to pursue. And I'm glad that you've got Arjun to speak. I'm sure, and more or less, it's also the alumni connect, because the alumni can also associate very well with what the culture is. So when he speaks, he definitely brings in that HR flavor to him. So the students also relate to him more easily. So I'm glad that Chandni ma'am could get Arjun on board to do this for us.
Thank you.
So that's it. And Arjun, for your information, Dr. Punjabi, you would have seen him at that
course,
time.
yes.
He was there. He would be one of your favorite teachers in TY,
Yes, of course.
provided you attended a lecture.
That is all caveats. But attended. So the common question we ask all students is
But अभी का नवीन सर थोड़ा अलग था, हाँ? अभी का नवीन सर थोड़ा बुढ़े हो चुके हैं.
बहुत बुढ़े हो
still
चुके हैं.
looks the same.
Chane ma'am told she will join us later.
Achha, then I think we should
So let's start, Naveen. Let's start then.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, guys, start.
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah, okay. So to everyone, a very lovely and cherry morning, and I hope I'm audible to each one of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so a warm welcome to our event on the occasion of World Environment Day by Nature Club of HR College of Commerce and Economics. My name is Yadi Rathore and I am the HOD of Event Department, and I shall be your host for the morning. Today as a guest, we are delighted to have Mr. Arjun Kamdar sir among us. On behalf of all the members and the management, we would like to extend our warmest welcome and good wishes to you. So I would like to give a brief about the club. Nature Club of HR College indulges ourselves in activities that aim at its sense of awareness about the environment and how to improve it amongst the students and general audience. A variety of activities are conducted throughout the year, such as heritage walk, mangrove visit, trek, cleaning drives, Mahotsav Campaign, and other environmental related activities. So today, being 5th June, World Environment Day, in the universe are billions of galaxies, and in our galaxy are billions of planets, but there is only one Earth. Let's take care of it, led by the United Nations Environment Program and held annually on 5th June since 1973. World Environment Day is the largest global platform for environmental public outreach and is celebrated by millions of people across the world. This year, it is hosted by Sweden. So as we proceed, I'd want to invite our president, Jayesh Patoli, for the academic year 2022-23. He has been a source of encouragement and direction for all of us. Please accept my heartfelt gratitude.
Thank you for your kind words and acknowledgement, Yavi. About me, I'm the Jayesh Patoli. I joined this club in my FY. From FY to TY, the journey has been really grateful, from being just a member to serving as a president. It was grateful to me. We had many seniors, juniors, and our very own faculty, Chandni ma'am. I thank you each one of them. And now furthermore, I would like to invite Miss Pooja Pooja and someone come here. Due to some obligations, Pooja ma'am can't join us now, but she will join us due to some time. Furthermore, I would like to invite Lavina Batra, one of the vice president of the Nature Club 22-23.
Thank you, Jayesh, for giving me this opportunity. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lavina Batra, the Vice President of the Nature's Club with Roshni Manik, along with the Roshni Manik for the academic year 22-23. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome Dr. Naveen Punjabi, sir, the Vice Principal of our college. We all know him as a super energetic, compassionate, and optimistic individual who always challenges us to do our finest, set high ideas, and reach at great peak. I would also like to request sir to offer a few words. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Lavina, for the kind words. Dr. Chandni Bhattacharya ji, teacher in charge of Nature Club of HR College, Jayesh, President, Lavina, and Roshni, Vice President. Yavi, thank you for the initial introduction. So overall, a warm welcome on behalf of Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, Principal. In absentia, we welcome you all to this event. So the World Environment Day is a very momentous occasion, especially in this year. More especially in this year in India, because it's the 75th year of Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav, where we are also commemorating the 75 years of independence. So we've got 75 years of independence to do and save whatever best we could do for the environment. So every year is more or less like a, kind of a momentous year. But this one is special because after a few years, there is some landmark, 25, 50, 75. So this 75 year is like a landmark. And we should do more, and we should make this more consciousness about the environment, as the resources of the environment are finite and we cannot replace them as easily. I'm sure Dr. Chandni would have taught you all of those in her classes and in environmental studies, but that's the major concern. The issue is that we all have needs, but the resources are finite and we have to preserve the environment. And that's why we all are here to celebrate the World Environment Day in a unique way. So UGC today morning also tweeted that only one Earth. So if you see today's newspaper, it's all flooded with different kinds of campaigns that are running. And today's cause that we've adopted is Save Gaja. And we are delighted to have Arjun, who's going to tell us about his live experience or his first-hand experience in working with elephants and how he's been working there in Assam and other parts of the country. And more happy that he's an alumni, so all of you will be able to relate to more. As Dr. Chandni rightly said before we all began this session, that there's a preconceived notion that a commerce student may or may not be able to do much for environment, but this is not the fact. He has proven us otherwise. And if you have a passion for environment, you can learn more from Arjun. And of course, with the mentorship of a teacher in charge like Dr. Chandni, you get the opportunity to do much more. So over to the team. Hearty congratulations to the entire team for organizing this wonderful event. All the best. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Now, I'd like to offer an invite to our driving force through thick and thin is our dear faculty in charge, Professor Chandni Bhattacharya ji, ma'am. She's the backbone of Nchr. She's a dedicated support system who inspires us to push our boundaries and achieve our maximum potential. Her presence only serves to energize our team. With her constant support and able guidance, she encourages us in all our endeavors. We are extremely grateful to have her as the pillar of our team. Chandni ma'am, I'd want you to say a few words and welcome a special guest for the event.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Punjabi, for taking your time out. It's a Sunday morning. I'm sure you've got a lot of things lined up for a Sunday morning as well. We'd also like to thank the entire HR college, the management. We also want to thank Dr. Ramchandani for helping us, as well as Professor Eunice for giving us the link, and we're able to conduct this session. But more importantly, to all of you for ensuring that you are present today, because it's a momentous day, as Dr. Punjabi mentioned. It's something which the entire country is trying to uphold and sensitize. That's the most important thing. And you seeing Arjun will perhaps be a step in that direction. Us trying to take up this project with his help, that we are able to contribute in our way, because we can't all of us go into the field. We can sit here and we can try and ensure that as far as possible, we can save the elephants. So like he said, when we were talking, and I'm sure he'll put it into his further discussions, that you tend to have a sort of feeling that that the Indian elephants are safe, it's the African elephants who are threatened. So it's not like that. So we definitely need to take a step forward. Now a little about introducing Mr. Arjun Kamdar. I think it gives me the best of pleasure at this juncture to introduce him. From that boy who would come with the rucksack behind him and you never knew what was in his rucksack. One day a snake leapt out of that. So from that particular boy, because he said, "Ma'am, I'm just going to submit to the BMC because he was called to catch the snake. He's a certified snake catcher." So he's a amazing boy. To the boy who came and sat one day across me with a tire plaster on his chest. Why? Because he was trampled heavily by an elephant. To a boy who has, gone to places where I think I've never been. Some vague area in Arunachal Pradesh. He would go and stay with shikaris. He would come back and tell you stories of those. To a boy who was struggling to reach destinations, to be in touch with his parents, because he would be in the remotest areas. Maybe once a month he would drop in. His mother would be very anxious whether he's at all surviving or not in those areas. So it's that boy that I'm talking about, extremely passionate. When all of you were at a time when all of his friends were struggling to, do CAs and other things, he was somewhere doing his calling. So that's called the calling. If you can get it for yourselves, it doesn't have to be nature. It can be anything, but pick it up. If it's that's what you have, that's where you will go, and that's where we will support you. That's why mentors like Dr. Punjabi, Dr. Ramchandani, and me, we are here. We will give you that push, but you have to take the step. Remember that in life, and we are always there. So that is the outcome of this, is people like Arjun. With that, let me give you a brief introduction, which he wants us to read about him. So Arjun Kamdar is a wildlife scientist working on a link between economics, anthropology, and conservation. Using his interdisciplinary academic training, he is working on human-elephant coexistence in Assam by studying human as well as elephant behavior. For his MSc thesis, he looked at human-elephant conflict, mitigation as a collective action problem, and is currently implementing the findings of his work in Northeast of India. He is a graduate of HR College of Commerce and Economics. In his talk, he will speak about his experiences as an elephant biologist, covering the threats that elephants face, tracking them via GPS collars. Also, he uses behavioral economics to understand human behavior with regard to conservation. Arjun, as ever, welcome to HR College. The stage is yours, Arjun. Please take it forward. Please continue.
I guess there are some network issues.
I think his screen is frozen, so there's some network issue.
Yeah, so we'll wait for him.
I think he will rejoin in a minute.
Hi, sorry, I think the network was lagging. I sometimes have network problems here. It's a slightly remote area. All right. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jani ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Punjabi and Nchr. I'm really excited to be speaking to you all. I'm audible, right? Yeah, great. I'll just share my screen before the network stops again. Just a second. Yes. All right. So, so here, this is just a brief introduction about the kind of work that we do in Northeast India, particularly with regard to elephant conservation. So just a brief introduction, and of course, please feel free to stop me anytime if you have any questions. And if there's anything else, of course, we can discuss that at the end of the presentation. So elephants are really large-ranging animals. They travel hundreds of kilometers over the course of the year, about tens of kilometers every day, and they need a lot of nutrition, as you can imagine, to survive. An average Asian elephant, which is the ones we have in India, weighs about 4,500 kilos. So it requires about 200 kilos of food and maybe 150 200 liters of water every day just to survive. So that means that they need to travel large distances, move around a lot to get this nutrition. Now, in India, you might have already been, as with the rest of the world, you might be aware that there is a lot of deforestation and fragmentation taking place. So earlier, when there were areas, vast areas, which used to house, lots of elephants, over in a very short period of time, very ecologically speaking, in a span of just about 20, 30 years, the amount of area available to them has shrunk. Now, this is because of increased technologies like chainsaws being everywhere in all these small villages where I work in Assam as well. There are chainsaws with virtually every household. So that means that this deforestation is taking place at a very rapid pace. I'm sorry, my screen is visible, right? Yeah, great. So
Yes, everything. Yes, you are visible too. Don't worry.
Okay, great. So that means that what was earlier available to a lot of elephants is now not. And therefore, 70% of elephants' range is outside protected areas. That means, for example, imagine that for all the tigers that we have in the country, most of them, a majority of them are living outside designated forest areas, which means they don't have the protection. They don't have anybody manning them. They don't have the legal security also. So they're just living this existence of going from one forest to the other, trying to make do. And of course, on the way, because there isn't enough food, like we discussed, when we were just chatting, that elephants pass through farmland, and crops are super nutritious sources of food, because we have been making crops more and more tasty and more nutritious since we started, settled agriculture about 10,000 years ago. So rice, wheat, all of these are very, very nutritious for elephants. Now, this, of course, means that the negative interactions, conflict between humans and elephants is increasing as the level of forests decrease, and as nutrition gets, tastier and tastier. The number of elephants coming out and into conflict with humans is going to increase, and it has been. So here you can see there's a farmer with a torch, trying to chase elephants away. Then, of course, you might have heard of the Kerala pineapple bomb, where somebody put a bomb inside a pineapple and an elephant ate it and she died. Then about a burning tire being thrown at an elephant. So these kind of things happen because people are pushed to the extreme. These are people who are surviving on the bare minimum, well below poverty line, and they're trying to make a very meager existence, and that's also annihilated, because of larger problems. So they tend to retaliate in these manners. And of course, it's not just about this loss of crops. In India, the human-elephant conflict is the highest in the world. We have about 500 people and 100 elephants recorded to be dying every year just because of conflict, which is a huge amount, right? To give you perspective, last year in India, we lost 584 people due to armed conflict. This is just at 519 people. So, just below that. That's the scale that it has reached, over thousands of square kilometers. So something really needs to be done about this. And of course, this is the psychological impacts also of this are very high for both humans and elephants. For humans, it's that, at any point of time, one night an elephant can come and break your house because people store paddy or sometimes alcohol in there. So the elephant searches for these things and they have a very keen sense of smell. They have 2,000 genes for smell, whereas humans have about 400, dogs have about 600, 800, so they see in a world of smell, so they can easily track it down. So they break it, and that fear of constantly, you might lose everything is very real for people. So hence the motivation also to, do something about it. Like here, these people lost a lot of their crops. And of course, this elephant, unfortunately, was electrocuted intentionally. So she was, again, roaming around, and because she would come into human areas, sometimes eat some crops, people laid out these live fires, and then, she perished. And here is some camera trap footage. So this is a device like a CCTV camera that we have, but it gets triggered only when something moves past it, in front of it. And this way, we can deploy it for a long period of time in a forest area where there's no electricity or anything. And only when something is moving by, it will get triggered. And I use this to study elephant behavior to understand how are they coming, what's their group size, what are they eating, what is their body condition, etc. And then, this is a normal elephant, a healthy elephant. And then I saw this image. And if you note this image, you see all the small holes on its body. Those are all bullet holes. So this is the level of magnitude that it has reached, and it is just so pitiful around its eyes, its ears, its body, like hundreds of these small metal pellets, made from handmade shotguns. So it is not a nice situation for people or for elephants, and we really want to do something about this. So I chose to work here in Northeast India, which has the highest population of elephants. And as Chandni ma'am mentioned, I always have had this, relationship with elephants, and I was very interested. I thought this project would also not only help me understand how to solve this problem, but also will tell me how elephants think, to understand this very cognitive species, because elephants are one of the only few species in the world, in addition to orangutans, dolphins, and humans, that can recognize themselves in the mirror, do complex tasks, coordinate, and seek rewards, that kind of stuff. So I thought it'd be very exciting to learn how an elephant's brain works, and this is how I would be able to do that. So here, this is my field site. Tezpur, the red dot is where I'm working now. This is what the place looks like today. The dark green areas are forest areas, but this is today's satellite imagery. But if you look at this, you can see how quickly the forests have disappeared. This was the highest rate of deforestation in the country for a long period of time. This happened because of political conflicts, because of lack of enforcement, that kind of stuff. But the habitat available for elephants decreased by about 60% in just 15, 20 years. And unlike other animals, like say fish or mosquitoes who have an annual reproductive cycle, populations of elephants live very long. So their population is for the larger area that already exists, not the small patches that exist, right? So they are forced to come out. It's not that they like to just, come out and destroy people's houses, etc. So then, again, this is just to give you an understanding of what this is and what can be done. So we understood that. So here again, here's a more stark image. This is in 1986, satellite imagery from there, and this is today. So just wiped clean. It's unbelievable. I mean, and I work in these areas. I've seen it. It's something that you can never fathom. You can't imagine how this could happen. Such large trees. Some trees have a girth. The canopy has a girth of 60 meters. Some of them still stand today inside this park. If you're interested on Google Maps, you can actually zoom in and then you can measure it. It's 60 to 70 meters. And of course, I've seen those trees. It's unbelievable. But anyway, it is what it is. So as part of this, we realized that there are two parts to this bit. If we want humans and elephants to coexist, we need to ensure that people are safe, and therefore elephants will be safe. Because fortunately, people are not poaching elephants for meat that much over here, and not for ivory, because the majority of the elephants here don't have tusks. Females don't have tusks, and some of the males also are tuskless. So poaching is not that much of a threat. People are not hunting them for money in that sense. It's out of retaliation. So we realized for that, we need to understand how elephants function and how can we keep people safe so that they feel safe and they don't attack the elephants in retaliation. So the second part is what I focused on for my thesis. How can we keep people and elephants safe from each other given that elephants spend 70% of their time outside these protected forests. So here, I think is even more interesting for you people, because like all of you, I have a undergrad in commerce, right? And I felt that, that information, that training is not irrelevant. Of course, you need to understand how elephants move, their biology, their ecology, etc. But that's just one part of the system. The question I have mentioned is actually a much larger question, right? And it's embedded into economic values and all of these things. So and of course, economics as a strong social science has already set out a path and has studied a lot of these things to great detail, such as how can we get people to work together, how can we align people's interests, what are the variables that we need to consider when we're doing this. So similarly, human-elephant conflict. If suppose I'm a farmer, you're a farmer, we both have a crop adjacent to each other. If I am, blocking off the elephants from my area, then they just go to the next guy, and it's a net zero-sum game. And especially for a conservationist, that doesn't have any impact, right? Okay, it's not eating X farmer's crop, it's eating Y farmer's crop. Y farmer will get very angry and retaliate. So how can I do this? So we need people to come together collectively to solve this problem. And therefore, and that's what, and this problem that I described was what was being faced also. So there is this one intervention, which you can see here on these little tiny wooden posts. There's one thin line running along. Now that is a non-lethal power fence. So that has a pulsed shock. So it is just a psychological barrier for elephants, saying that, oh, if I touch this, I'll get a shock and I shouldn't go there. So that's all that this does. And this has proven to be a very good tool to safeguard people's houses, and sometimes a part of their crop also, to say that, if you are within this Lakshman Rekha of some sense, you are safe. But the only caveat is that this needs to be well maintained, which means the technical equipment, the undergrowth, all of that needs to be taken care of, to ensure that it's functional. And despite it being very effective in keeping elephants away, people were not able to come together. So why was this happening? This is not an ecological problem. This is a social and economic problem, right? So to understand that, I felt that we should use an economics framework. Why should I use some other thing? Then there is something so well. So I used the work of Elinor Ostrom, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics, on her work on how to secure collective action, how to get people together to safeguard common pool resources, the resources that everybody shares, and to ensure its sustainability over time. That's what I used. Now, just to give you a brief idea, there are a lot of other things also that people use to deter elephants. But of those, the fence has proven to be the best, least harmful for humans and least harmful for elephants. It just is a psychological barrier. So in case, the elephant really does need to get to the other side, but really does need to pass through, it will go through. It's like how, when we're going back home, we don't want to take a Virar fast. But if we don't have an option, we will. So it's very similar to that. And so to understand this, I used a bunch of semi-structured social interviews, just spending time with the farmers, doing whatever they do, reviewing all the literature that they have, all the interventions that they do, how do they maintain the fence, what do they do, etc. And most importantly, I spent as much time as possible just in the villages with them, doing whatever they do, farming, cooking, guarding crops, patrolling at night, doing electrical stuff, just every single thing, living in there with them, living their life, so that I understand where is this problem, how can I solve this, and then getting all this information out, coding it. Of course, I use camera traps also to understand, of course, human behavior also and elephant behavior also. So this is an elephant who's just curious about the camera trap and is trying to eat it. So, but anyway, so I got all this information from 19 different villages, put it all together very systematically, scientifically, coded it, understood what makes sense, what doesn't, what are these things, and then I analyzed it, given the frameworks that we already have, to understand that what can really work. And long story short, we found a whole host of things, that it's not only the material costs that people care about, it's also the social costs, that, oh, I want the community to come together. Why should I work and save the entire community when the other person is not? That seemed to be a very strong variable, which was something we would have never thought about. But now we found that out, and we've decided to work on that. So that's what I'm implementing right now to ensure that humans and elephants can stay safe together. And given that, here is one of the success stories from one of the villages where we're working. Earlier, this was a village where even if an elephant would come, all the males of the house would go out with fire and with burning tires and all of that to drive them away. But now just see what one of the ladies has to say, and look at this image. The fence is right here along the edge of the railway track, and on the other side, there are two elephants drinking water. People are just standing there, sitting on the tracks, taking photos. They also like looking at elephants, they just like, they're very fun animals to look at. So she says this, yeah, you can read it. So this proves that human-elephant coexistence here can happen. And it can most certainly happen at scale if there are two things, a political will to do this and a strong scientific basis. So we are providing the strong scientific basis, and we are also continuously advocating and campaigning with, and liaisoning with these government officials to say, please incorporate this into policy. We're making a little bit of headway, but not how I would have wished for. But I guess it's a slow process, and that's something we're all coming to learn slowly as well. And this is also something that you guys can take up as you go ahead. But we'll come to that at the second part. Now, the more interesting part, what I've been busy with for the past year, which is understanding elephant movement. So we had no idea what is driving elephant movement. Is it, like we mentioned, is it because of lack of resources in the forest that they're coming out? Or is it because they are really enjoying human crops? Now, again, in the next two slides, we'll get to know that more. But to understand this better, we need to know where the elephants are going and how they're spending time. And elephants are very, very fast. They're faster than Usain Bolt. They know the landscape much better than all of us. They are incredibly intelligent. And they are, if they don't want to be seen, they won't be seen. So you can't really follow them, my colleagues who follow tigers and leopards, they say, oh, that's easy, you do this, you do that. And when, I ask them, can you help me with, with the tracking elephants? They're like, oh, that is a different game. We can't, it's just unbelievable. And it's the most counterintuitive thing for me, because you would imagine that an elephant, 4,500 kilos, and is living in this group of, let's say, 10, 12 individuals, will make some amount of noise, right? They are silent. They're more silent than a cat. You can't hear them, even if they're 5 meters away. So it's unreal. But anyway, so to understand this, how can we understand that? So there is a device already in place. I'll come to that in the next few slides. So this is it. So this is the area that I'm working in, as we've seen previously, and elephants move among these three areas. So to Sonai Rupai Wildlife Sanctuary over here, Nameri National Park here, and the Brahmaputra below. So they use these areas a lot because there's a lot of forage available there. And for that, they need to pass through 60, 80 kilometers of human areas. So to understand why they're doing this, how they're doing this, we decided to go and collar these wild elephants. In the next two slides, there'll be an image of the collar and how it works. But again, this is just to set the theoretical context that what is really getting elephants into conflict. One is, of course, push factors that elephants are pushed out of forest because there is not enough habitat. There is not enough connectivity. Climate change has reduced the amount of nutrition available to them. And the other is pull factors. There is crops, alcohol, all of that is attracting the elephants. Now, this is the interesting, but this is where we've got this very interesting device. It's the same thing which is on our phones, right? Google Maps. It's a GPS collar. It has a GPS unit embedded in it. But the difference is we charge our phones almost every day. Once the collar is on an elephant, it cannot be charged. So the real challenge is to get the entire battery unit and the transmitting unit into this collar, which is what we've managed to procure from Germany. There are just a few companies that make this, so we managed to procure it. And there's a lot of paperwork required and all of that. So finally, jumping through all those hoops, we managed to get these. And it works in a very simple way. The elephant has this collar. It transmits to a satellite, and the satellite transmits via internet to our laptops, and we get a GPS fix. But this happens every hour or so. So we don't have a real-time update. For that, there is a small, very high-frequency transmitter in the collar, which is on a real-time basis. But that is only if you're in a 300 or 400 meter radius, can you pick it up. So you use the GPS signal that you've got to get a broad area where the elephant is likely to be, and then you use this antenna to kind of find it. This is using it on the field. This is from just last week. And this is to give you an idea, the elephant that we were tracking, of course, when the forest is very dense, the antenna doesn't work at all, and neither does it transmit any GPS signals. So they're using the old method of tracking elephants, which is looking for their trails, following their dung. And here you can see there on this tree, the elephant has put mud on itself and then rubbed its back and itched it. So that's also how fresh that sign is a clue for me to understand where to go, all of that. And of course, this is some of the most remote places. Some of these places is places where nobody's been in the last 50, 70 years, partly because of the insurgency, partly because it's so remote, and partly because nobody wanted to go because of the elephants. So yeah, people kind of consider us to be crazy to enter these areas, but of course it's safe. Elephants don't want to harm humans unnecessarily. So yeah, so that's how we do it. But the most important bit is to collar an elephant. It's not like collaring a dog, right? You need to get the elephant to comply. How are you going to do that? So to do that, we need to tranquilize the elephant. So this is a full-blown operation. There are 80 of us. We've hired these captive elephants called kunkies. 8 of them. We fan out. We identify a group. So this is, we identify where the elephant is likely to be. Then we fan out. We decide a strategy. We have a tranquilizing gun with some particular drugs. Let's sedate the elephant. So the elephant is standing still, but is completely unconscious. So then you can quickly go put the collar on and leave. This is a very difficult thing. We tried once, we failed. We tried twice, we failed. Third time, we failed. And then finally, on the fourth time, this is our vet, looking at a potential group of elephants. This is him fixing the drugs into the dart, into the tranquilizing gun. That's us then going on the back of the elephant with the tranquilizing gun towards the wild elephants, darting it, finally putting a collar on. And this was the first elephant to be collared in Northeast India. And, we call her Tara is what we've named her. And she's, again, was in these areas. We've understood a great deal from her movement already, which is something that I'll come to in the next few slides. So that's her with her entire herd. You can see she's the one in the center. You can see that small little thing right at hanging below her neck, a necklace-like thing. That's the collar, the GPS unit, and that's her calf behind, whom I've named Haldi, and both of them are always together. And this is a movement map. So this is all the GPS locations that we've got in 5 months mapped out. So you can see, of course, she spends a lot of time inside forest areas, which is here, but she's also spending a lot of time outside forest areas. And this is obviously a very zoomed out view. If you go a little deeper, this is just telling you how frequently she uses these places. So yeah, so these are the areas that she's actually going through. And now from this, we understood a very interesting thing that elephants are using human areas to move through because they have no option. But even if there is a very small patch of forest, sometimes just, a hectare or two, which is just 200 meters by 200 meters, the elephants all come in there and they stay there. They rest there for the day and then they move out at night when there are no people. So it's very interesting. And this is something we had no idea of. We knew that elephants do pass through them, but we didn't know the frequency and the intensity of use. So they use these things as refuges, small area, stay safe. Then when it's safe, you move out. So within this large tea estate, this large town, there are small areas here, like these small patches of forest, about 200, 300 meter by 300 meter. Elephants reside there. Sometimes they eat a little bit of grass available also, and then they move through. Then, of course, we found that it's not that it's one family unit. Elephant herds keep moving in and out. So sometimes they are just 6 individuals, sometimes they're 12, sometimes 30. And I saw with Tara 90 individuals, 90. So it was unbelievable, That's again something that flies in the face of what conventional elephant ecology is. Textbooks will say that elephants have group sizes from 12 to 25 individuals. But times are changing because that was written, when there were unfragmented forests, large patches, all of that. Now with so much, change in the land use, elephant group dynamics are also changing, which is important. We need to constantly update our understanding. We also understood that, elephants are, finding it difficult to cross very steep slopes, particularly along railway lines. So this is because I could track her. I was following her. And then I could see, oh, look, she's taking a lot of time to crawl up. And that is when elephants get hit by trains, which I think you might have heard about or read about in the newspapers. Elephant hit a train hit an elephant and all of that, partly because of this. So now with this data, we are actually working on a full-blown project to understand how to make these areas safer for elephants to walk across so that they cross railway tracks quickly. I mean, we can't reroute the train, obviously, right? So how could we get elephants to cross tracks easily and then reduce the number of deaths? And this is the most exciting bit for me, that elephants are using human areas like nobody's business. And they use particular areas, particular corridors to move from one area to the other. Like you can see these paths, right? So they're using these paths to such a degree, and it's just 32 meters apart, these two houses. And there are about 70 elephants passing through it every night. And the people on these side, when I looked at the GPS data, and I went there and I went and I asked the people living in these two houses near the Momo stop and this place. And I said, hey, the elephants must be passing by. Did you hear them? Did you see them? What? No, elephants don't pass here at all. I said, they passed here just last night, He's like, no. How do you know? I live here. They've not passed here. I said, okay, fine. And I just let it be. I said, there's no point unnecessarily creating this fear when they don't have that fear. But they use it so much that have a look at this, that you can literally see elephant footprints from satellite imagery. This is a screenshot from Google Earth. All these paths that you see, these are elephant paths. They use this to that degree. Now, this is, of course, very exciting and all of that. But again, it's very fantastic to look at this. And I think one bit that what can you do as commerce and economics students, and as Dr. Punjabi and Chandni ma'am already mentioned, that this is not a hindrance. In fact, if anything, after spending so much time, looking at these problems on the ground at policy, these are partly ecological problems, but a greater part is societal and economic problems. If elephants had to exist, in human areas, and if you just adequately compensated the farmers, saying, you lost 5,000 rupees worth of crops, here's 5,000 rupees, please, we make good the loss, let the elephants pass through, half, if not 90% of the problem will be solved. But we need the political will, and, government has the money to do this. We did a very rough back of the envelope calculation. And for each district, I mean, not for each district, but for the state of Assam, it's not going to be more than 100 crores, which is 120 crores or something. I forget the exact figure, which is absolutely nothing for government budgets. And this is, I think, over 2-year data. So about 60 crores a year, which is nothing. I mean, they spend a lot more on just getting roads and water to these areas and electricity, So, and in all these other schemes as well. So it's easily doable. So that can be done. Now, this is just one bit, of course, and this is with elephants, but there are so many other things. And the training that you get as an economics thinker or as an accountant, accountancy thinking is very, very useful, because that is one big lacuna in conservation science today, which is people, the ecologists, just don't know how the world works, other than the small academic circle that they're in. You people have that understanding. You people understand, we people rather understand how these things work, how it can be tied in. So if you want to, let's say, work on public relations, you want to work on management, you want to work on systems, you want to work on apps, you want to work on academics, everything is possible. And that's, in fact, what people are looking for. So if anything, it's not a hindrance to your desire to do environmental science or to do conservation or to do wildlife research. It, in fact, strengthens your case. And even in India and abroad, now the climate is changing. People are very keen on having people from other backgrounds come and study. So they're not going to turn you away. And I've seen, people younger than me now have more doors open to them, saying that, oh, no problem, you're not a science graduate, but we still welcome you in, provided, of course, you're willing to work hard and, learn what you need to learn. And that's phenomenal. There are a lot more doors open now, and it's only going to increase. So you can definitely try this as you go ahead. My details are here. Chandni ma'am also has them. I'd be happy to help if you have any questions, doubts, anything. Thanks.
So
Lovely presentation, Arjun. Yeah, I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it replicable everywhere?
Sorry, ma'am, your voice was cracking.
Is it replicable everywhere?
Which part, ma'am? So
the model that you're doing, the fencing and collaring, that will be replicable everywhere and in all animals, or they're unique?
So that's a very interesting question, ma'am. So it will be applicable for most animals, because so all animals under the sun work on push-pull mechanisms. So animal movement is determined by push and pull mechanisms. The degree that they're able to move is often a hindrance. So that won't work to that degree. But the broader fundamental tools and the science that the results that we get will undoubtedly be helpful to most animals. Of course, more so to elephants, definitely, and definitely to elephants in fragmented landscapes, which is almost all elephant habitat countries in the world. Most of the areas where there are elephants are in fragmented areas. And the second part, ma'am, about collective action problems, I think that is applicable not only for human-wildlife conflict, but for a lot of other things. So I was just speaking to a few people in the business world also, like a few batchmates of mine, and some of the findings some of the challenges that they face are very similar to this. For example, a sense of fairness. How do you incorporate that into a system when you're creating a management system? So these kind of things are there. So it is definitely applicable, ma'am.
Why I asked you, Arjun, is years back when I had gone to Ranthambore, I found the same thing happening to the tigers there. The villagers were, killing the tigers in the wee hours, largely because they wanted to save their, houses, cattle, etc.
Exactly.
So again, there they use these handmade bombs, which they put into vegetables, and the tiger eats it, and so the tiger dies with that explosion, and the face gets dismembered, and the rest of the body, of course, they use it up and it's sold and other things. So that is a menace there. So it could also be used there, right?
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. And on that same note, as as commerce students, as economic students, there is another very interesting idea that could be used for the problem you describe, ma'am, which is we insure our cows, our cars, we insure our houses. Why not insure cows now? And that has worked. A small village in Ladakh has used this. They have a cow insurance, a livestock insurance scheme to prevent snow leopards. When snow leopards eat their livestock, or a disease takes their livestock, then they get compensated adequately, and then there is no retaliation. So it's a very interesting system. It could definitely work.
That's good. And the second thing is, now that you're working on the field, does that initial fear still strike you when you see one approaching elephant?
No, ma'am, not at all. In fact, with wild elephants now, there is that healthy respect, and not at all, ma'am. Now I feel completely at ease. And I guess it's just a freak event, wrong place, wrong time. So there is no fear. I think
you always said it's a freak event, but whatever. It's a human thing to be scared, isn't it?
It is, but not anymore with these elephants. I think now, after spending a good amount of time intimately with them, to look for certain cues. Of course, when you're on a turn, suppose I encounter an elephant, my heart races. It's a blind turn, or a surprise. My heart races, and immediately I turn around and run. There's no two ways of that. But if I'm there and an elephant, so sometimes, especially for this collaring bit, one part was, of course, identifying where the elephants are. And the other more interesting part was how to get them habituated to us, so that we can get into a good enough range to deliver the dart, right? And that meant that just staying there and letting the elephants get habituated. And I would stop at 80 meters, and then I would go maybe 10 meters at 70 meters, and I would stop after I know that the elephants have sensed me. And I would just wait. The elephants would wait, and then they would huddle together, and then they would move apart, and then they would huddle again, when the wind would change. And then slowly, they came to 50 meters, then to 40 meters, and then to 35 meters also. And, with that, you understand that they have acknowledged my presence, and it's fine, and it's okay. If it got closer than that, then I would get up and walk away. But they seem to understand and seem to discern. So
now that you are familiar with Tara and Haldi, right?
Yes.
Have you been able to go closer to Tara or Haldi? Haldi you can't touch. Tara will kill you.
No, ma'am. I'm not close enough to touch. I'm not even close enough to actually, sprint away. I keep a good distance, a healthy distance, partly because I don't know, anything can happen. The wind changes, or if I sneeze, it spooks the elephant.
So when they acknowledge you, Arjun, when they acknowledge your presence, they react, or they just ignore you?
They react, man. So that is the most fun thing to see, So sometimes the wind is blowing from them to us. So then they don't realize at all. But then the wind changes, and then you'll see they'll all just stop what they're doing, which is generally eating, and then they'll look around, and then they'll put their trunks up like periscopes, and then they'll do this, trying to gauge where the smell is coming from. And then once they find it, they'll stop, and then they'll raise their trunk 2-3 times like this, and then they will then they actually communicate infrasonically, so we can't hear it. But then there is definitely some cue that they give, and once that it's identified me, then it gives sometimes a barely audible rumble, or sometimes I don't hear anything, and all the elephants come together, shoulder to shoulder, and then they look, and then everybody raises their trunk a little bit here and there, and this is a good distance, 30-40 meters away, and then they acknowledge me, and then they go back to doing what they're doing. But what sometimes, depending on which herd it is, some herds are not that used to me. So the matriarch, they always led by a large female, will stand between me and them and let the others go a little away from me, and then she'll follow them from behind. So it's very, it's quite interesting to see that.
It's interesting.
Ma'am, we have Pooja ma'am
Really
with us.
interesting. Anyway, I took a lot of your time, so let the others ask you questions.
Good morning, Pooja ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Nice to see you again.
Good morning. Good morning. And good morning, Arjun ji.
Good morning.
No, Arjun, he's your student, Pooja.
Yes, ma'am.
Acha, so I should not add G?
No, you can add a G anytime to anybody, but Arjun is a student of ours. He passed out commerce years back, but he was technically into wildlife conservation from the time he was doing commerce. Then he went into doing a master's in Bangalore. That's his institute. What's your name of institute, Arjun? It's the Institute of Management.
National Institute of Biological Sciences.
So they gave him exclusive introduction and allowed him to study. Generally, it comes from science-based courses, but since his profile was, and all along he has been working with the World Wildlife Fund, so that helped him. And right now he is in Assam. He's working on elephants. He's trying to create a man-elephant, a solution for a human, animal conflict, I would say, which is a prime concern all over the world. And in India, the problem is very unique because our economics are different and our conservation strategies are a little, maybe they are there, but they are not implemented to the extent they should, isn't it, Arjun? Absolutely. So that makes it very difficult for us to have, the solutions the way it's happening, let's say in Botswana, or it's happening, let's say in any other part of the world. So he is working there. He's currently with the project on elephants. And the interesting part of his life is, which I tell everybody, is he got trampled by one. So he is a survivor of an elephant, which is why WWF at one time made him a major, speaker at different because they wanted to hear how getting trampled, because he was taking photographs and the elephant suddenly charged at him, and he came in a horrible state. I don't know how he survived, by God's grace, I would say. So this is his life, and today he's exclusively into working on the field. So he has radio collared elephants now. He has created fences there. So we are trying now to ask him that now that he's working, one reason why we thought of bringing him, and that's what even I told Dr. Punjabi, is he has been able to showcase that from commerce also you can take up, disciplines and jobs which are not just core commerce. And that is the reason I thought he is a huge, I would say, he can be a leader in his own way, and students can follow him. They can find out all the alternative occupations that they can get into apart from just, being a chartered accountant and whatever. And so in this presentation, towards the end, he was trying to tell them how the discipline of sciences need people from economics and accountancy, so that they can come in and give a guidance which is lacking in the strategies and policies that are there. So we are also trying today with Arjun's help, we are trying to focus because he's working with the elephants. We're trying to work with the Save Gaj project, that means saving of the elephants. And we want to take this up as an entire year's effort where we will try to, showcase how much we can work. So we'll work on that eventually. That's a long-term thing that we are looking. But in the meantime, this is his achievement and a very proud HRite. And at the beck of any call, I just told him, Arjun, we need inputs, we need you to present. He is always there. So today is in a very remote area in Assam. So with a little poor connectivity, he told me I can only be available in the morning. So we had to schedule this in the morning. So that's Arjun for you, Pooja ma'am. Arjun, I'm sure you remember
Of course.
Pooja ma'am. She would
Yes,
have
yes.
taught you 3 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
I think when I said good morning to him, and I saw a matured person, and then when Chandni adds in that he's from HR, I think that brings so much of smiles and proud feeling in our hearts that a CA, a commerce graduate, has taken up an initiative which normally a CA student would not think of. Sitting in office doing audits is such an easy job for a chartered accountant. And once she said that he has faced a situation where he has faced an elephant and it charged on him. And today I can see a smiling Arjun Kamdar here. We are happy and we wish him long, long life. And the initiative that you have taken, and today when you are coming and speaking on World Environment Day, is taking care of a particular section of animals. I think it's commendable. And when I see approximate 40 to 45 students of Nature Club sitting with you, I think when we say, or Chandni said that we will take this up as a theme, and I can actually see this becoming a habit of Nature Club, because we have seen our students interested and taking up these topics. And while Chandni was describing or was making Arjun known to us about his achievements, some thought came to me that, Arjun, please take them to different, what we say, conservative rights, that how nature has been disturbed by human being. And today the time has come that this vacation period is a time when people go to hills and enjoy, and they say, wow, what a nature is, and post pictures that heaven is there in Kashmir, or a beautiful place like Northeast where Arjun himself is sitting. But they don't realize that they themselves are harming it when it is closer to them in their own cities. They can create those mini Kashmirs and Northeast, or greenery around, and take care of animals. But people just remember these on these beautiful days, celebrate it, and then forget it, as Arjun said. But I would suggest, as Nature Club, let's take this initiative that at least twice a year, take these trips to some sanctuaries and see how animals are living there, how they are taken care of, and how much we have harmed them, that they have to be in those zoos and sanctuaries rather than living in their own houses. I don't want to live in a cage, but I'm forced to because there are people around to kill me. Maybe we take this as a theme, as Chandni said, that this 1 year they will work on this. And I'll be more than happy that if Nature Club could organize one sanctuary visit or reserve visit any place with the help of Arjun, I'll be more than happy. And with Arjun talking about his achievements, and when Chandni was describing it, suddenly something came to my mind that this needs to be showcased on our alumni portal. So I'm starting a section where I want a brief from Arjun along with this picture. Send it to me, and I'm starting an alumni achievement section on our website where I want world to know that HRites do so much for the world and they are bringing in change. So Jayesh, I will take you and Chandni, please take this responsibility. I need a one pager along with picture from Arjun that I want to put it on my alumni highlight section as our alumni achievers, and want to see an illustrious alumni in Arjun when we do alumni meet. Arjun, you have done a commendable job. And I think when you talk to these students, young brand ambassadors of HR College, we don't call them as students now. We call them as brand ambassadors because wherever they will go, they will carry a bit of HR in their hearts. And today when Arjun said that, yes, I remember Pooja ma'am and Chandni ma'am, and your journey from HR started to a sweet destination called Assam, and many, many more destinations that you will go. I want Arjun come back and take them for a ride off elephant or on some sanctuary. I think this will be a great, because when you talk, it's like, yes, some people are listening, some people are, but when they go there, they feel it. And I want this nature club to take one visit every year at least to some reserve or nature, or where animals are living, and see how much we have harmed them, how much we are affecting them. And when it comes to us, we always complain. The poor fellows do not even open their mouth. So we don't know what are they feeling, what are they going through, and they have to leave their own places to live in zoos and places where government takes care of them or people take care of them. So Arjun, a promise from you that I will get two things from you. One is the nature club's visit to a place like Assam or Northeast, because it is a beautiful place that I've been there. I am sure children will love this idea. And secondly, a brief about you, your achievements on my page, which is website of HR College, that this is where my own brand ambassadors have reached, so that many more can contact you and you can create many, many more or achieve many more laureates for your own self. So I'm very happy. Though I came late, I'm sorry, I think I've missed my own self. I wish I would have joined at 9:30, and would love to see the recording on HR College YouTube. So Jayesh, this is your responsibility. And I must say, today youngsters can easily spend their time on WhatsApps. Sunday is the day they could have overslept because Sunday. Arjun could have easily relaxed because that's his non-working day. But I think salute to my brand ambassadors of Nature Club and the faculty in charge, Dr. Chandni, who have taken up these efforts on Sunday morning, early morning, to make people get up and say, look, there is so much around, know about it, learn about it, and try to protect it. So Arjun and my dear brand ambassadors of HR College, special thank yous. And let's take a pledge that maybe we can be a change to save some animals in the world. So thank you, Arjun. Lovely meeting you. Lovely.
Thank you, ma'am. You're too kind. I'd be honored to do this. I'd love to do both things. Thank you so much. And I really owe it to HR also to, giving me this platform then to go forth and, explore this. It's not an easy thing, and it is always unnerving for my own parents. So I can imagine how unnerving it will be for the institute also. But thank you so much.
No, but Arjun, anytime, any help from Nature Club of HR College, we are there. I'm sure these kids who have taken up this would want to come there and help you see there. And maybe these are the young brand ambassadors who have power in their hands, and just they don't know how much they have in their hands. Sky is the limit. If they can sit at home and organize Zoom sessions without any college help and faculty help or guidance, I think they can create wonders. And just call them and they are there for you. I'll be more than happy to connect with you, and looking forward to getting that small section from your side with your picture that I want to put it on HR College Achievers of HR who are brand ambassadors. So lovely meeting you this Sunday morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja ma'am. Very encouraging words. I'm sure the students would love to go somewhere. It's just that we need the permission just to create that visit. So we'll be in touch with you. Thank you very much. It's a Sunday morning, we understand. And I think today bandwidth is low for many of us. We're all struggling with bandwidth as well. So thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Arjun, once again for taking this 1 hour out. I won't hold you back. I know you have to go back to the field. So thank you so much, Arjun. Do send us what you would like to go up on that page that ma'am is asking. And a picture of now, Arjun, not of before. Because now you look very much like, so
A matured, matured young person.
yeah.
Grown up.
पोस्टर से बहुत अलग दिखता है.
Yeah.
So give us what you would like, and it's very kind that Pooja ma'am wants to put your achievement up, which will also help others to feel that we want to also go. So you're kind of being a leading person at this stage, and with ma'am's help, we'll be able to create a bigger platform for nature, conservation, advocacy, and everything.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Together.
And Arjun, I would suggest, Chandni,
We'll also
if
reach
there
out
is
to
an
you, Arjun, for us to really start with something you tell us, and then we will work it out. But I'll get back to you. Give it a thought whenever you have time. End of this month, you give me a plan how we can take this forward.
Sounds good.
Right?
Thank you.
So
and
thank you
would
so
also
much.
suggest, Chandni,
Yes, ma'am.
Arjun, if there is any NGO that you're working with, we would love
Right.
to have a tie-up with you so that our students regularly do efforts for you, and Nature Club can do a tie-up with your, what if I don't know you're working, so we can have a tie-up and
He's working with
regularly.
WWF, ma'am.
So I
He's
think
with
it's a
WWF.
wonderful institution, and let's have a tie-up, and our students regularly come and take up the themes that your organization has, and become a responsibility of Nature Club, that we do one visit every year or 2 visits, whatever we can think about, and at
Right.
least 1 visit per year to such places where nature is being harmed by society. And maybe our students can bring up with posters and maybe do something as an initiative that can help society. I think I would love to take this up as a long-term initiative for HR College.
Absolutely. That would be great. It would be very helpful for us as well.
Yes.
Bright young people.
Yes.
So thank you so much, sir, for your kind words, and we're delighted to have you on board. So as we come to an end, I'd want to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Arjun Kamdar for sharing his distinctive perspectives and experiences with us, and for broadening our perspective of nature and giving us your valuable time. I'd also want to thank Pooja ma'am, Naveen sir, and Chandni ma'am for their invaluable guidance. And I also want to offer my profound thanks to the Nchr team for their tremendous work in making this an unforgettable morning. Finally, I'd want to convey my gratefulness to our wonderful listeners for their patience and cooperation. Thank you to everyone who contributed to making this a very delightful event. Hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Chani ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Take care, Arjun. Thank you, Pooja
care.
ma'am.
Thank you, Pooja.
And all
Thank
the
you for
best,
this,
everyone, for your exams.
Yes, tomorrow
you
they
so
have
much.
See
exams.
you day after
Good
tomorrow.
luck. Good luck.
Day
Yes.
after tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.